With me now is Shadow Employment Minister Justin Madders. A very good morning to you. Thanks so much for talking to us. Steve Barclay, the Health Secretary, is calling on junior doctors to stop their strikes. He says that strikes are harming patients. Is he right?
Well, obviously, any industrial action is going to have an impact on patients, which is why it's imperative that he tones down the rhetoric and gets around the table. This strike has got no sense that it's going to end anytime soon. So simply issuing ultimatums to the junior doctors clearly isn't going to work. They have a number of grievances, not just related to pay. I think that the only way this will end, as in all industrial disputes, is through a settlement. And that's what I would urge Steve Barclay to focus his attention on immediately.
Well, yes, and Steve Barclay says he stands ready to discuss issues other than pay. But as far as pay is concerned, he's issued what he describes as a fair and final offer. Would Labour sit down with the unions and talk about pay?
Well, we're not going to conduct negotiations via a TV studio, but we absolutely would be in the room with the unions now. It should be pointed out that when we were in government, we didn't have national strikes of this sort in the NHS because we actually worked with the workforce. We understood and listened to their concerns. It's very clear at the moment that there is no listening or empathy with the concerns that junior doctors are raising. And actually what's going to happen here is that ultimately they will vote with their feet. They will leave the UK. We know that many are already going to Australia. We will have an even more understaffed NHS, which is going to be even worse for patients than the situation we face now.
So should we pay them more?
Well, look, they've got a long-standing historical pay grievance. It's pretty clear across the public sector. Pay has not kept up with the cost of living. We're not going to be in a position to put figures on that at the moment, but I think that you need to give these staff, you need to give across the whole NHS workforce some hope that there is light at the end of the tunnel, that there is some understanding that pay needs to be dealt with, working conditions need to be dealt with, and actually you've got a government that is listening to the workforce. None of that is happening at the moment, which is why this impasse has been reached. It takes a bit of leadership for the government to actually climb off its high horse and sit round the table, meet with the junior doctors and try and find a way through this. That's what patients deserve, that's what the NHS workforce deserve, and that's what the government should be doing.
But the government say that it's listening to its independent pay review bodies who've made their recommendations. The government say they're honouring them in full. They've done that for a number of industries, and a number of unions have accepted those offers. So are doctors just expecting too much?
Well, that's what the point of negotiation is. And I think this 35% figure that's bandied about is an opening gambit from the junior doctors, but it's being used by the government as a reason not to meet. And actually what the government should be doing is finding common ground, finding areas that they can have discussions on. That might take the heat out of this, that might improve the atmosphere, that might actually see a way through this. At the moment, I see no prospect of any change to this industrial action because I'm afraid there is an element of implacability from the government that is not helping anyone. We've got record waiting lists. As you know, that was already a record figure before these strikes started. It's only going to get worse unless the government show a bit of leadership, sit round the table with the junior doctors and find a way through this.
OK, I want your reaction to today's GDP figures. At 0.2% growth in the second quarter of this year, a little bit better than expected. Some welcome news?
Well, it's heading in the right direction, but I think if the limit of our ambitions is 0.2%, we are selling the British people short. We should bear in mind that the economy still isn't recovered to the size it was prior to COVID, and we're the only economy in the G7 who are still in that position. We've been bumping along the bottom for far too long. We need a much more ambitious plan from government to actually deliver growth. That's one of Keir Starmer's 5 guiding missions, to have the highest sustained growth in the G7, because that is the only way that our economy and our society will improve.
OK, well, Justin Madders, we appreciate your time this morning. Thanks very much indeed.